Paranormal Hunter. Stephanie Seraphin was an amazing paranormal investigator, or paranormal hunter, if you prefer. She was very young, very intelligent, and very ambitious. She was loved by a lot, but also hated by other paranormal hunters. She was viewed as arrogant, and her methods had been criticized by her fellow peers. But this was mostly jealousy. Stephanie was constantly traveling all over town, solving hauntings, helping people get closure with dead relatives, and even solved a few hoaxes. Although Stephanie's life had its ups and downs, she could not ask for a better one. The day began normal. Stephanie woke up, ate breakfast, showered, brushed her teeth, and sat on her bed, waiting for her phone to ring. While waiting, she started watching TV. Hours went by, Stephanie's phone never rang. This was unusual, but it didn't bother her much. She just looked at it as having much needed time off. After a few hours, Stephanie dozed off. She awoke around 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. to be exact. Only something was wrong. Very wrong. She was extremely sore, like she'd went 12 rounds with a semi-truck. She got up and started heading for the bathroom, every step feeling worse than the last. When she finally got to the bathroom, her pain had gotten so bad that she fell over. Stephanie grunted in pain a few times and eventually passed out on her bathroom floor. Stephanie awoke again hours later, around midnight. There was still some minor soreness from earlier, but nothing too bad. She got up and took a shower, still wondering about where that intense amount of pain had come from. She got done and got dressed. It was about 1 a.m., and she couldn't sleep, so she decided to watch whatever was on TV that night. At first, nothing was too abnormal, aside from still trying to figure out what happened earlier. But it wasn't too long before things got out of hand. Stephanie's TV randomly shut off. This caused her to get up and check if it was unplugged somehow or if something had happened to the electricity. But just as she approached the TV, every light bulb in her house shattered. Stephanie jumped when the sound of shattering bulbs pierced the house. By now, she was completely terrified. Next came the mysterious voices. Stephanie started to hear a ton of different voices. They sounded like they were only whispering, but coming from everywhere. She covered her ears and shouted, "Stop!" which to her surprise actually worked. The voices stopped, but this didn't make things better. There was still many weird things to investigate. Every light bulb being shattered and her TV going out were still troubling. But before she could investigate either, Stephanie heard some noises in the bathroom. Without hesitation, she darted for the bathroom. When she arrived, she immediately went pale with fear. Written on the mirror in red lipstick were the words, "You're going to die tonight, you arrogant little bitch." The words "arrogant little bitch" specifically stood out. For some reason, Those words seemed oddly familiar to her. Before she could think more about it, she felt a sharp pain in her stomach, which caused her to double over. The pain became so bad that she actually dropped to one knee. Stephanie knew at this point whatever was going on had to be supernatural, and it had to be stopped. Despite the intense pain she was in, she managed to get up and run for her room. She kicked the door open and started looking for the tools that she used to solve and or get rid of angry or evil spirits. When she found what she was looking for, she ran back out to her hallway to see if she could find the entity or any kind of sign of where it was and get rid of it. By the time she got to the living room, the fireplace was lit without the screen. It didn't take long for the house to eventually catch fire. The flames spread rapidly through the house. Stephanie knew she wouldn't be able to put out the flames, so she ran for the door, but was brought to one knee again by the same sharp pain she had felt earlier. Stephanie started to fade due to the lack of oxygen. She also started to get burned somewhat by the fire. She started to realize that her life was more than likely going to come to an end. She laid and awaited her imminent fate when she noticed something. A body started to form in front of her. Stephanie knew that it was a spirit. The spirit turned around and looked as though it was smiling sinisterly, like it was happy that Stephanie was dying, slowly but surely. She immediately got up and started crawling for the door again. Just as she got to the door, the sharp pain returned. She turned back and saw the spirit sticking their hand into her back. The spirit smirked and hollered,
"Arrogant bitch."
Stephanie grabbed the device, activated it, and with the last bit of strength, she broke through her weakened door and managed to get out of the house before it completely burned down. Fire truck sirens were heard in the distance. Beaten, torn, and exhausted, Stephanie fell to the ground, panting and smiling, knowing that this nightmare was more than likely over. Stephanie awoke the next morning in a hospital. She had suffered severe bruising, some light burns, and a broken wrist. The doctors assured her that she'd be fine, but wanted her to stay at the hospital for at least another day, just to make sure nothing else came up. The police arrived, and after Stephanie woke up, they got her statement. She told them everything that happened, but things took a very weird turn when the officer asked Stephanie if she was aware of the body in her basement. Stephanie had no idea what the officer was talking about, so naturally she said no. The officer didn't have too much information other than the fact that the body was identified as Melissa Grant. Hearing that name jarred something in Stephanie's head. She remembered that Melissa Grant was one of those paranormal investigators who couldn't stand her. She was very envious of Stephanie and often referred to her as an arrogant bitch. Stephanie also remembered that Melissa once said she would take Stephanie down, in this life or the next.